So hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to talk about something that I've seen before, but that Libby Watson and others, Libby Watson at the Splinter, have really kind of highlighted again, and I think it's super important. And it goes to the nature of why Bernie Sanders' accent is so often emphasized. There's a really good video by Vox, actually, which talks about, you know, the cultural and geographical origins of it. But if you look at sources like the New York Times and others, it's very clear that people are mocking it. They're mocking Bernie Sanders' accents when they write their pieces. And unlike other people, they don't take their accents and sort of, you know, translate them into text. But what they do with Bernie. And Libby Watson points out for a couple examples here. I got one right here. It talked about when he's talking about healthcare, he's talking about doctors and dollars, that kind of that accent he has, that Brooklyn accent. Another case more prominent is a billionaires and millionaires, that kind of accent. Whether or not that's what Bernie sounds like, I'm sure I'm not doing a good Bernie. The point is that these sources are writing out his accent. And I think, frankly, they're doing this for two reasons. New York Times is doing this for two reasons. One, and the most prominent reason, is it's a tool to delegitimize Bernie's policies and ideas and statements, to sort of mock him, to make his statements look uncouth or unrespectable or outside what a quote-unquote presidential candidate should sound like. By talking about him saying millionaires and billionaires like that, it's almost to say that, oh, he really doesn't know what he's talking about. This is populist prattle from a New York, a New York figure. He doesn't necessarily know what's up. He doesn't speak proper like a Hillary Clinton or other figures. This is just the ramblings of an old socialist. But worse than that, I think it's anti-Semitic. I think it is. Bernie's accent isn't simply a Brooklyn accent. It's also a kind of typical, form of a Jewish American accent. So when you listen to Bernie speak, you're hearing a kind of unique cultural voice, one rooted in the time and place and culture of, a Jewish American born in the early 1940s, an older Jewish American. And so when you combine this, it's really an attempt to other Bernie. And so much has been made about, anti-Semitism of Ilhan Omar and of the left, sort of criticizing Israel for the awful things Israel does, let's be honest. But here it's very clear that the New York Times and other sources, in their characterization of Bernie's accent, and in doing so in this kind of sense that they're writing out the accent. Again, I'll post some examples on the screen while I mention them in the video. When they do this, they're very clearly trying to say this New York Jew doesn't really know that much. He shouldn't really be taken that seriously. When he says the millionaires and billionaires, and they'll put it in quotes often, they'll italicize it to sort of say, it's really ugly. It's really ugly. And this is showing one thing above all. The ugliness is awful. But it's showing to me one thing above all. Is they got nothing on Bernie. They got nothing on his actual ideas when he talks about doctors, he talks about Medicare, he talks about fighting income inequality. All they can do is make fun of him. That's all they got. They can only poke fun at his accent. Because they know that his views are popular. And they know, deep down, that his views are right. And they know that the young people of America, and really the young people of Western countries all over the world, are moving in a leftward direction on issues like climate, healthcare, income inequality, workers' rights. And the tide is shifting. So they're lashing out. They're lashing out with petty, discriminatory, language aimed at one particular candidate. Again, they don't do this with other people. They don't write out Southern drawls. They don't write out the accents of very, very hoity-toity people, with the, a monocle-wearing person. If they don't do that. They're only really doing it for Bernie. And they're only doing it for the guy who just happens to be a New York Jew who speaks about income inequality and therefore is challenging so many status quos. It's shameful. But again, Bernie's got them on the ropes, and this is a clear sign as any.